Remember when we lived together, I was also on like a very clean binge bend where I would make like...
Oh my god. Hi guys, welcome back to Beauty Within, our home edition as the new norm. So today, because Rowena and I have been, more at home, we have been able to test more things, but also really come back and listen to our own skin. So we thought for this video, we're gonna share with you guys 3 ways that we've really changed up and minimized and streamlined our skincare routine. And this applies for the daytime as well as the night.
Yes, because I feel like since we started Beauty Within over 2 years ago, our routine and the way we approach skincare has changed so much.
And all of these things, I think like over time, Ro and I have really just developed a new understanding for, kind of like a relationship, a friendship. You learn more and then you adjust. So like, the process of it has been a learning experience, much like, why you guys tune into the channel to kind of learn with us. We are also learning. So cue transition. Less is more. So what does this mean to you?
I love the concept essentialism. It's a little bit different from minimalism. Essentialism is more so only keeping what's essential, and these essential things can help like improve your life, even if it's in little ways. And I feel like skincare, especially, minimizing it is one aspect, but it's also knowing, of course, your skin and knowing it what it needs. And so what that means, I think it's really stripping our routine down to the very, very basics. So a good cleanser, double cleansing if you do wear makeup, and a good toner, and a good moisturizer and SPF.
We're essentially sometimes creating our own skin problems by adding too many ingredients or chemicals. Not chemicals in a bad sense, because like a water droplet is also a chemical if you want to be like
if you want to be precise.
Yeah, but I think what less is more to me is actually letting what you're using shine through and then kind of pinpointing what is actually happening in that process to then determine the next steps. Like, do I need something more on top of that? Or if it's enough, then you just keep it at that until it doesn't work. In your morning routine, what would be a more like, what do you call it, embellished version versus a simple version? Because I think we toggle between 2 different types.
This is what I would do before. I would cleanse my face with like our typical gentle cleansers, and then go in with a toner, mist form, whichever form that I'm in the mood for. And then I'd go in with an essence after, and then a serum or 2, and then moisturizer, and then SPF. And I think now, a lot of times, especially a lot of products we use now for the toner step at least, the essence and the toner, they basically are the same thing. So I'll just cleanse my face, tone/essence, moisturize, SPF. And then if I'm feeling a little fancier, if I feel like my skin's a little drier, if it needs a little bit more like oomph or a little bit more brightening, then I'll use like a serum for that. But for the most part, I've learned that my skin is totally fine with just cleansing, toning, moisturizing, SPF.
Just makes me think like, okay, so before, we're not saying that it didn't work. It totally worked, right? So what's the difference between like layering serums versus just like having one? Like, especially for your dry, parched skin.
You subconsciously feel like it's doing a lot for your skin because you're adding all these layers and you're slapping all these things on. But for me personally, I found that I have the same results doing either routines, right? And I think the point of serums, they're like a potent dose of this specific ingredient to help with like a specific skincare concern. And I think one is enough. Before I do like hyaluronic acid, and then a serum with hyaluronic acid and vitamin C, and another serum with like some other thing. And it's like, I don't really need all of that.
You get to a certain point where you layer too much and then the effectiveness of it actually goes down because like you're not letting it actually breathe to like do its thing.
And it's just sitting on top of your skin. What is your routine like?
Oh my God, what was my routine like? My daytime routine is pretty simple. I wash my face and then I'll go in with like a toner because lately I just feel like, especially when it's hotter, I need something to make my oils not produce more, so it has to stay really hydrated. And then I'll use a vitamin C serum and then I'll use a moisturizer. and sunscreen. So actually my solid foundation is still like 4 steps. I think one easy way if you want to like minimize it is, okay, so serums, we love serums, heart eye, heart emoji, but it's not like you're always going through the same skin concern, right? So like for me, I'll have either breakouts or acne, which I would then go to one type of serum, or hyperpigmentation, but then that eventually fades. And then you go back to this like core cleanser, moisturizer, sunscreen. And then you kind of like add in the boosters. And I think that's where boosters also come in. You can embellish with boosters, but they're not like an everyday thing that you need to have all the time. Actually, these are the ones I'm using. We're gonna feature them very soon in a video, so I'm not gonna like tell you too much. But I'm like fully enjoying this ampoule, and I've never just used ampoule by itself, but it's so hydrating.
Ampoule as a moisturizer? Or just ampoule?
It's like a lightweight essence, so hydrating. You could use that like straight after your cleanser by itself. It's so nice. And then just like a moisturizer. And that's it. Now moving on to our second one, which is a biggie, chemical exfoliating. This has probably been one of the more like drastic learning curves, not in a bad sense, that we've gone through, only because at the beginning, I think we needed to try a lot of different things. I think the key is pinpointing at what time is good to utilize chemical exfoliants. So for me, I think it's like when I noticeably see dull in texture, I'll know like time for a chemical exfoliating toner or a mask. And then when you do it the right way, it's like whoosh.
So when you decide between toner and mask, is there a situation where you reach for the toner, and is there a specific situation where you reach for the mask?
Typically when I use chemical exfoliating like toner serum, that's also when I see the buildup, or like whiteheads, blackheads, like congestion, breakouts. That's when I'll start like loading up a little bit more on these chemical exfoliating toners to use over the course of 2 weeks. And then by the end of that 2 weeks, it's much better. And then I revert back to just more soothing and calming toners. So the chemical exfoliating ones are like the Paula's Choice, you know, the Black Bottle BHA, or the Glow Recipe, or the Sun by Me, or the Wishtrend Mandelic. So I'll just pick one of these. Sometimes I just go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, only because I know these all work well for the skin.
And they're all very gentle.
Yeah, they're all designed to be used every day. The mask, because it's generally more potent, it's more of like a hard-hitting, like effective, reset. What about you? Because yours isn't really breakouts. Yours is more like dullness, dryness.
I think it's more the butterfly area for my pores. Like my skin is so dry that it overcorrects with oil, and then it just gets filled over time. Back then, my skin was very tolerant to chemical exfoliants. Remember when we did the triple masking thing? And then I did the blue tansy followed by the super mud, which also has chemical exfoliants. And then I'll use like a sheet mask. That's crazy. I feel like I'm surprised that I didn't like burn myself or like harm my skin barrier, or maybe I did back then. That's why it's like extra sensitive or like extra dry now. And I feel like for most of last year, like all of 2019, I may have not even touched chemical exfoliant in the form of like toner. What I would use would be the Paula's Choice, the antioxidant nose pore purifier. That's like the most that I would do. And like I barely even masked that year. That lost year.
The times are a-changin'.
And I also wanted to see what my skin would be like if I didn't do that much chemical exfoliation, and like it's totally fine. Maybe when we first started Beauty Within, when you think of Sephora and the brands that are at Sephora, they're mostly clinical, not in like a white lab sense, but I just think they're more potent in general. But I think over the past couple of years, we've discovered the more we dive into the world of skincare, the more we went east, the more we found that, you know, hydration.
It's a journey.
Yeah, journey east. It's like the opposite. Hydration, soothing ingredients, gentle skincare. We've realized that these 3 things were a lot more important than like chemical exfoliating your face to make it like baby soft.
Another thing that they do is like they harness ingredients that you don't see in Western formulations a lot, or even drugstore. You know, goji berry,
ginseng,
Centella asiatica,
green tea,
mugwort. There's an Asian essence to it because those ingredients are predominantly in that region, which then offer the soothing qualities. And I think like there's a reason why Sephora also started adopting K beauty and K skincare, right? Because it adds another layer and another dimension to what like skincare was normally known as. You know who I think actually melds or sits kind of in the middle? Glow Recipe.
Yeah.
I think the point with that is formulation and looking at ingredients.
And it's kind of pulling the best from both worlds. Okay, so now that you don't use chemical exfoliants as much, what are the ones that you find yourself reaching for the most these days?
So the Peach and Lily mask that I mentioned to death for the last like month, and also Paula's Choice, it's cult favorite, my favorite, the 2% BHA. Those are kind of like my standout. They do the job. They're not like super affordable, but they're not like really expensive either.
I'll use the cleansing enzyme cleanses. Either it's the Suicide one, either it's the Good Molecules pineapple one, or like Tasha has one, Dermalogica has one. Actually, I'm gonna grab one real quick. Okay, so this is Cell Fusion C, Dermatological Laboratory, Papaya Granule Peels. Rebalancing. I would say 93% of this is very small granules that just dissolve into that white, beautiful white lather foam. The rest of the 7%, I feel like it's a little bit more coarse, but it's not nearly as coarse as like Dermalogica or the Tatcha. So I really like this. If I were to use a toner, I'd still use the Kalalea because I feel like a little goes a long way, and I still have the bottle. The Ren AHA I still really like. But for the most part, I don't really use chemical exfoliating serums these days, unless it's like very, very, very I need help SOS.
If you don't want to go too far into chemical exfoliation, you can look into just fruit enzymes. And sometimes they're not labeled as chemical exfoliation, but it is, because the enzymes break down the dead skin. So you can look at pineapple, you can look at pumpkin, I really love, papaya, all of these are great. They're formulated in cleansers, in masks. You know, the Peter Thomas Roth, I loved that. It was just really expensive. Banish also has one that they make to order, so it's like very fresh. So these are way like more gentle ways of chemical exfoliating. That is chemical exfoliation. Now, onto probably like one of the not so popular methods of glowing skin, but probably is the most effective method of glowing skin, is nutrient and diet. We all have heard of food is medicine, right? So like if you take medicine, you expect that medicine to go throughout and disperse at your body and target the areas that need to be healed, right? So that means that by principle, anything that you ingest will have an effect. I think people have like different levels of how it comes up on the skin. Some people are more lucky.
For the most part, in general, like I eat pretty clean, so when I don't, I can actually see it. Like my face is more dull, I'm more prone to breakouts, like I have like 2 on my forehead right now.
That could be because of the bangs.
No, because my bangs, in quarantine, they're just in the headband. But as you're saying some people are more prone, sometimes it's more genetics. Like some people are just more inclined to certain skin types or skin conditions. But I feel like we both have learned that what you do feed yourself really will show on your face. I think our face is the most visible, but things that are more intangible and abstract is like mental state, right? It's like when you eat certain foods, it makes you feel more energized, or like when you eat certain foods, it makes you feel more sluggish, or like it gives you food coma. And I think for now, like at this age, we should all know more or less like what types of food does either. And you know, sometimes knowing what we know, yeah, we still choose to eat things that may make us not feel the best, but like it's okay, you know, it's okay to live.
I'm totally down for this like 70% health and 30% cheat, because that's like, you want to find a balance, right? When it comes to any extreme, it's like you're going the wrong way. You always want to like shift back here, not like too healthy, go on some like insane diet, you get sick of yourself, you actually physically get sick, and then you're like, okay, go back.
And then you go too far back and it's just like...
we all start in different foundation levels. For me, I like never really grew up with drinking a lot of soda because my mom would just like never let me, but I never really took into consideration how it was affecting my acne and my hormones, or essentially my period. So like in the last 3 years, that has radically changed, and I'm telling you, it's all diet. So there's no like, the thing is there's no cheating with skin. I feel like if you want true glowing skin,
like you can't cheat your body. You can cheat yourself mentally to be like, oh, it's okay,
Yeah.
I'm doing fine. But like your body is not, it's like, nope.
you were pretty healthy anyway, but like what are some recent things that have made considerable difference?
I think I'm in a phase right now because we're all staying in. It's a lot easier to just order in. And when you order in, you're not in as much control over the food that you're eating. Let's say if I eat 4 or 5 days clean and then 2-3 days like not as clean, I think my skin is totally okay.
Because I think like if you're not aware of the diet and nutrition, it's because you're unable to sense it or perceive it yet. But if you actually like give yourself time to actually like note take little things, there's a lot going on.
It's like the same thing as your skin, you know, reading what your body needs in terms of nutrients and being able to understand what your skin needs. It's like more or less the same thing.
But you know what the advantage is? It's like when you do put more effort into maybe like making your meals, one, that process is actually very enjoyable. I think a lot of people in quarantine have noticed that like, oh, I can bake. Oh, you know, like I'm a jack of all trades. I'm a plumber, I can do everything. But like that process is very satisfying.
How has your skin been these days? Because I remember when we used to live together, you had zero disregard of like what you fed yourself. Like you knew you couldn't really eat cheese. You knew dairy wasn't good for you. I don't think back then we even really knew caffeine wasn't that great. But those are like your staples, like butter, cheese, coffee.
Yes. And going back to the relationships, now I'm in a completely different place, but it's not that I've like completely omitted. It's just a different relationship and a new understanding towards like how to actually incorporate it in my life. Back in the day, I think it was a lack of knowledge. I didn't know why. I just knew it, and just knowing it wasn't enough to make me change my habits. But then when you know how it actually like culminates and all works throughout, it's like a very obvious reason why you would decrease it or just like have it at certain times, because then it plays into everything, right? Like, okay, so period, never used to get my period on time. It would be like 3 months. Basically, I only need to buy a pack of pads like once a year, and it would last the whole year. But now it comes like almost clockwork every month, and one of that was caffeine. So anyway, that's one thing. And then the cheese, it was like the lactose portion. I always knew like milk wasn't a thing. So then the more you research into like different alternatives, you realize, oh, it's a big, great world out there of like different options. That was what spurred my like passion into all the different drinks videos, because you can still enjoy without feeling like you're giving up on things. Like collectively, all these different things added to a much better situation. So then you look back and you're like, why wouldn't I make a little change that goes the long way?
I think at the end of the day, it's curiosity.
It didn't kill the cat. It revived the cat.
Remember when we lived together, I was also on like a very clean bend where
Yeah.
I would make like chocolate chip cookies with 100% cacao. I would never recommend that to
my
anyone.
God.
100% cacao, it's not good.
It's
not
just like
good.
you're just licking the dirt on the ground.
Basically.
You found a nice patch and you're like, And actually, you know, now that you mention it, I feel like we balanced.
We did. I was extremo in one direction, you're extremo in the other, and now we're both like walking the middle path.
I think as much of the excitement that we all have towards trying out different skincare, we should also give as much to diet and nutrition, because together, that'll be life-changing.
Synergy!
Truly synergy.
Man, we should try to find a way to say synergy in every video.
It'll be the Easter egg that's like you don't have to find because it's just so obnoxiously
there.
in your face.
Over the past 2-3 years of hosting on Beauty Within, of trying hundreds and hundreds of skincare products, these are the 3 things that Fel and I learned. The first thing, less really is more, as we've already talked till the cows come home about that. We're not gonna recap these things. Chemical exfoliants as well as diet. And I feel like if we can get all of these things right, you'll have bing bing skin.
Girl, guys, everyone, you'll be radiating from here till like the moon.
Your body will be happy, your skin will be happy, your wallet will be happy, you will be happy.
I mean, our wallets will never really be happy, let's be honest. I've been going on these like purchasing rampages because, you know, it's like, oh, I'm saving money on skincare, I'll buy homeware. Or I'll buy 1,000 plants. Hope you guys enjoyed our very long-winded 3-point explanation. It was a trap. We trapped you.
And if you guys have any like holy grail things you've learned as well about skincare, simplifying your routines, your relationship with chemical exfoliants, or even your diet, please share it down below. We always love hearing what you guys say, and I think it's helpful as well for other people to read and to reflect and to just learn from each other.
So before I pass out from this sun and the heat in this room, we will see you later.
Bye.